So I want to welcome everyone to week 23 of xEssentials. Tonight's presentation, been excited about for most of the season. Our presenter tonight is not our traditional Christmas lighting guy, but he is from the Halloween side of the world. So Dr. Ramsay, aka Dr. Terrorize, has been doing a home haunt at his house for over 40 years now. He's very active in the Halloween communities, presented at a lot of different conferences. And so I'm really excited to have him here tonight to share with us some of the basics of setting up a home haunt. So that is my intro. Dr. Ramsay, you ready?
That's right, Ed. Let's kick it off.
Okay.
Hey, everybody. Ed, hey, thanks for inviting me. So tonight, I'm coming at you as the home haunter and not as the Christmas guy, because Halloween is my thing. And if you're a home haunter like me or have ambitions to become a home haunter and be that house on the block where everybody points at Halloween, not just at Christmas, then this might be the place to be tonight. Well, you might be a haunter if you've got lots of black clothing. Or if you've ever taken off the skin on your hand with hot glue. Yeah, I've done that a couple of times. If you've made more than 3 trips to Home Depot in a day, yeah, I've done that. I don't know how many cans of great foam have actually, the great stuff foam have ruined my clothing, probably about 10 over the last 10 years. And I've gone to work with raid-stained hands, possibly you have too. And I, like maybe some of you, start planning Halloween the next day. And yes, I'm a dumpster diver. Hey, a real home haunter is someone who goes around looking for stuff to grab for next year's haunt. And this isn't my garage, so don't point fingers. But there are some people, and yeah, I've got about 3 car spaces full of stuff that hoard, and they have lots of Halloween goodies. And the home haunter, we all have our little things we do, and it's interesting because I can talk to anyone that's been a home haunter and understand it. And I love sharing what I do. Now, what have I been doing? Well, for the last 45 years, I've had a home haunt, I've had a commercial haunt, and I also have produced a Southeast United States Halloween convention called CHEC. And that was last year, actually, last July. Now, I'm a presenter and instructor at every convention in the United States, actually one in Canada also. And I help people learn how to make props, how to create their own haunt at their house. And I've actually won some awards with some of my props and my costume. So I'll be happy to chat with anybody afterward, or just send me an email, and I will be happy to talk with you about props and ideas. Off the subject, I'm an eye doctor by trade. That's where the terrorize comes in, kind of. And I'm a 32nd degree Freemason, for those of you who might know of Freemasonry. So here's a picture of me in costume. This is one of the costumes that I've won some awards with over the last few years. It has LED lighting in it. It has lights in the eyes, lights on the belt. I have a built-in microphone, because when I have that mask on, which is a real gas mask, I think from Poland, you can't hear me talk. So I built, and I've incorporated into a glow wire that comes out of the front, and inside my belt there in the front buckle is a speaker, and I have my Dr. Terrorize voice. I don't change my voice electronically. I put on the heavy voice. Anyway. So why am I here today with you folks? Well, I want to share some ideas about helping you with your haunt. You might be a beginner or someone who's got some advanced experience over the years. I may have a couple ideas you hadn't thought of. I'll give you some examples. I'll give you lots of resources. There is a handout that Ed has put together for me somewhere online with a link. And hopefully I'll be able to save you time and money, because after all these years, yeah, I've learned to save some time and money and share those ideas. So in your handout, you'll get ideas on some props, some sites, some great vendors. That's one of my 10-foot tall by 10 feet wide. I call him a pumpkin king. People call him different things in the picture there. There's a trade show list. There's support groups in the handout. I mean, everything that you need is in the handout. I'll just go over some of these things superficially here. And just remember, when you're making your home haunt or any haunt, you want to affect someone's senses. And the first thing you got to remember is they have in their mind already some fearful ideas and thoughts without even seeing your place, what's going on inside there. Then you want to work on all their senses. You've got props, you've got lighting, you got fog, all these great, wonderful things to bring them into the scene. And then you can enhance that by having scents and sounds and music. And we'll talk about that. So let's talk a little bit about the outside of your house, outside your yard. There are things that I have found that people like to do that's pretty common, and that's putting up wooden boarding, the zombie boarding across your windows. And I've used real wood, I've used foam, I've carved foam, I've engraved it, and I realized I've got a list every year of about 16 to 20 things I want to accomplish for that year. And it comes down from 3 months down to 2 weeks, and I've only got half of them done. And one of them one year was I wanted to put up boarding all around the house. So I said, I got to do something. Went over to Home Depot or Lowe's, found this medium density fiber board. It's 4x8, and you can cut it with a circular saw in like nothing, like butter. And I just shoved the ends in the picture here under the edges of plastic shutters we had on the house. And I was done in an hour from start to finish, cutting, putting them up all around the house and having them there. Hey, saved me time versus cutting and foam and wood. Save time. Along with your windows, one of the things you can use is a great product from Atmosphere Effects. Atmosphere Effects is ubiquitous now in the Halloween industry. Everybody knows about them. You see their stuff everywhere. And they've been around for years, and their stuff gets better and better every year. And one of the examples is, if I can get my, here we go. So what's the great thing about that is I had that running projected onto a very thin Walmart sheer curtain. Cost me, I think, $1.99. It covered a whole big window that was like 8 by 10. And it was up high enough in the front yard that people wouldn't be dead in line with the projector that was on the ground coming upward. But people were stopping and looking, going, oh my God, those actors are sitting in there doing this over and over. Little did they realize actors were free. They were just doing their little thing in a digital video that was projecting on the screen. Very simple, easy to use, and you can do those in all the windows in your house. And there's so many different ones from different companies, and those are listed in your handout. This number 2 lighting thing, it probably you guys will appreciate a lot. And I'll go into this only because it's just so phenomenal. Rob Brown put this thing up, the Skull and Bone lighting, probably 15 years ago. And he is a computer animator and graphic artist and does things for movies and games. He pulled this thing down, and then I called him up and I said, can you put it back up? And he put it up, and he pulled it back down a couple years ago. And I finally said, can you do something for me? Because it is the Bible when it comes to yard lighting. It's computer animation generated kind of images, and it shows you how to layer lighting in your haunt, in your yard. So he finally said to me the other day, here, take all the images, and here they are. So I have them all posted in a photo album on Facebook, and there's the link there, and you can watch it there. There's no video. It's just the pictures, and he just did screenshots of this presentation type of website he had with all the instructions. So go to it. You'll learn so much about colors and layers and lighting. And you have to remember, this is back when we had, PAR 38 or whatever lighting in the past that were, hot and use gel lights. Now everything's LED, but the colors and the themes and the idea and the concept that he uses all holds true for layering. All right. It's a good source for you. And LEDs, as we know, are small. I use them in all kinds of props. You can see this little skull box. That's a skull I got from a skull shop. I put it in a basketball display box. Little blue LEDs in the corners, in the front, on the right and the left. And it has a 9-volt battery. And this thing can go anywhere. And I have all kinds of stories about this skull that people just freak out about. And Gantom Lighting, if you're in the lighting industry, you probably know of them. They do lighting for Universal Studios and for Disney, especially the Harry Potter parks. And their newest light, which came out, I guess it was 3 years ago at Transworld, it's a light that's programmable with your phone. You just plug in your smartphone into it and have it powered by your plug and your adapter, and you tell it what to do. You can have it do lightning, you can have it do a flame, you can have it do a red heartbeat, anything you want. You can totally customize it, and once you unplug it from your phone, it stores that. So as soon as you plug it in, it runs that program, boomity, boomity, boom. And you can also have it triggered. So one program is running, and you hit a switch, and it turns on a program, and it'll run that program until it's done. It is just a phenomenal product. It's cheap, and it's not all the auto, all the stuff we used to have, all these computerized systems. Those are done with. It's all built into the light now. So now you have a light that's about 1.5 inches across and maybe 2 inches long. That's it. And you plug it in, and it's programmed by your smartphone. Love it. I love it. Love it. And this is a quick little thing for eyeballs. If you want to have eyeballs cheap for $20 a pair in a skeleton or in a mask, this is from HauntBots. It's called a Gizmo. I use it in my Dr. Terrorize mask. It has 6 or 7 preset programs, and you just push it, and it'll run through each one, or you can have it set just to stick with one. And what happens is the eyeballs glow in the back, and you can have them blue or green or brown, whatever color eyeballs and lights they use for the combination. Phenomenal product. Love it. And it's so simple to use. For the guys that want to know about skeletons, and all of us kind of know something about skeletons, but not a lot in detail, here's a real quick and dirty. A Blucky is a blown plastic, cheapy skeleton that you can squeeze with your bare hand because it's hollow plastic. It is very, very thin, and you can just take it in your hand and just fold it in half. It's that thin. Barneys are hollow plastic skeletons that are a little better quality, like you'll find at CVS or Target or Walmart at Christmas time. Halloween time, and they run around $35 thereabouts, up to about $50, depending where you buy them. Costco's got them, and those are pretty good quality skeleton. I use them a lot in my yard. Then there are the better skeletons, the medical qualities and such. Those are solid PVC plastic. A Bucky uses old plastic that has been left over, and they reuse that plastic, melt it down, and use it with pretty good quality. You still see the seams, and it's not the best. It's not virgin material. But when you go to Harvey, which is the ultimate, Harvey is a medical grade skeleton, and Harveys are pure virgin PVC plastic. They've got great detail. They don't have these lines and seams that you see like on the Buckies. And they're a little more expensive, but they are phenomenal in detail. So Skeletons and More is my resource. They've been a sponsor of mine in the past. Just great folks. And there's a YouTube video that kind of shows you a little bit about some of the comparisons. Anyway, just learn about them. If you like skeletons and want to do a bunch of them, here's how you do it. Go online at Skeletons and More, and you can see some of the information. And this is one of my classes I teach. I've taught this one probably all over the United States at all the conventions. I can teach you how to make a whole skeleton or a skull that is no latex, no mess. And this is just drop cloth with a heat gun, wood stain. And I did this probably in about an hour, 45 minutes maybe. And this is just a skull, but I've done whole skeletons. And actually, when I do that class at any of the Halloween conventions, we end up giving away the whole skeleton. It's worth about 180, 200 bucks when it's finally done. And I have 4 to 6 other people usually joining in and helping me make this thing in the whole skeleton. So remember, creating the scene, you want to use fog machines. Everybody loves foggers. Probably everybody out there has bought the $25 Walmart fogger. Yeah, they work. They're good for usually one season for me, maybe 2 if I'm lucky. Then they end up just crapping out. So I ended up, 10 years ago, probably buying a Chauvet let's see, it's the 1300. Now they have the 1301, and I think the 1350. And all these are 20,000 cubic feet per minute. You will bury your front yard, your neighbor's yard, and if you get the right fog, I mean, you'll shut down the traffic, and I've done that before, good or bad. Anyway, so just look at spending a few extra bucks on a better quality fogger that will blow away the smaller ones. Right? And fog juice, and I think Ed, you told me that Tater from Froggies has been on before. So
yep. Last year, Tater did a whole presentation. Yep.
Yeah. Tater's a great guy. I love Tater. He and I, we all the conferences we sit and we chat for a minute, and I get my goodies because, well, we'll go into that in just a minute. I give away things when I give away when I do a seminar. I'll give away little items either during or after the course. But fog juice, there is a difference. If you go to that link at the bottom, there's a YouTube video someone did that compared Spirit fog juice, and Spirit Halloween, has their own, to Froggies. Once you see this video, folks, you'll never ever use Spirit again. And the price is almost the same for the both of them, but there's such a huge difference. And Froggies has such a selection. They've got the bog fog, the chilling fog, they've got haze, they've got everything. Just a word to the wise, just watch that video and get blown away. I learned so much just watching that video. I like low fog, probably because here in Florida, we can get fog chillers made pretty easily because we all use ice chests when we go and do things outside. And there's humidity in the air, so there's a lot of hang time with these type of fogs. I make fog chillers. You can buy a fog chiller. The one that's on in the picture here, that's one like that I make. I actually have a YouTube video on my YouTube channel that shows how to make one in the past. It's pretty simple. It costs you 25 bucks, I think, to make it or something. And to disperse the fog, I use 4-inch sewer pipe, that corrugated pipe. And some of them already have holes in them. So if you stretch out 50 feet of this stuff and hide them behind your tombstones or in your yard or along bushes, and when that bad boy kicks in, that Chauvet unit with the 20,000 cubic feet, it'll just fog up everything. It's a great effect. And the low fog is what most people like because it'll hang on the ground longer before it dissipates into the air. And that has to be chilled to do that. Again, let's affect the sound, the senses. If you want to do sound, there's so many places you can put speakers, and nowadays you can get these little USB thumb drives and systems that you can have everything built in, the speaker, the MP3 player, everything all built in. So you shove in a thumb drive, hide it in a corner, and there's your sound for that room. And Midnight Syndicate, I lost track. I've got probably 15 of their CDs. And now you download this stuff, but there's more than just Midnight Syndicate. But they've been around the longest. They've been around making all this all these sounds, and the information's online. Midnight Syndicate, There would be one of the first choices I'd look at. And there are other companies now that have come along with more upbeat and just different sounds than Midnight Syndicate. So just a word to the wise. But use sound throughout, graveyard, everywhere. Here's something for you. Ready? Okay, so y'all have probably heard some of that. This was a custom bit put together, and I'll be glad to share it with anybody. It was for that scene. My sister had passed away years ago. Her name was Carol Ann, and that was a tombstone I put together in about 20 minutes out of a piece of foam I had left over. I just carved it up quickly. Had a teddy bear with glowing eyes. Had that little tricycle that actually had a motor under it, so the wheel would turn slowly. That was the squeaky wheel you would hear. That was the rusty wheel, and I had speakers on each side of the tombstone, low to the ground, and that effect right there stopped more people walking by my cemetery. My cemetery is about 100 feet long. And it stopped people, and they would just sit there and just listen to this thing. My wife hates it. She's in the other room because she won't listen to this thing. If I start to play it, she's like, "Don't you dare!" She doesn't like that kind of creepiness. Anyway, but think about, again, ways to use sound in your haunt, in your cemetery. There's tons of ways to do that, and I'll be glad to share those with you one-on-one. Just send me an email, and I'll be glad to send you that file. It's professionally done by a buddy of mine, and I'll be happy to share it. All right, moving on. So we've got foam for a moment. I want to talk about tombstones. Everybody has made tombstones, has bought tombstones, and this is pink styrofoam in the picture here that I carved up with a soldering iron and texturized with some great stuff foam. But the foam boards don't just come in 1 and 1.5 inches. They come in 2, 2.5. They come in all these different sizes. And actually, there is 5-inch roofing foam you can get from a roofing guy. These are these 4x8 sheets that are thick. It's not the smooth kind when they get that thick, like there is the extruded foam in the picture here that's smooth. But all these foam boards you can glue together and then carve them if you don't want to have one big thick foam board that you're going to use to make a tombstone. So I'll go over some examples of tombstones in a second here. But extruded polystyrene is that smooth blue or pink foam board, in case you didn't know. So when you have that tombstone that you want to make and you have foam board, these are some of the tools. This is probably the #1 in the Halloween industry, Hot Wire Foam Factory. And they have tools that cut through the stuff like butter. And you just turn these things on, and it just is super, super hot. I can't remember how many, 750 degrees, I think, something like that. And you just cut right through the foam. And once you lay out your cemetery tombstone and cut it, that is the biggest chore, but it's out of the way very easily with these tools. Again, Hot Wire Foam Factory. So here's some examples. John Nilsson is in the Florida Haunters, which I'm the co-administrator actually for Florida Haunters, which was started by other folks here years ago before I got into this here in the area about 12 years ago. And John is a member, and this is I think it's 3 feet tall and like 5 feet long, or almost 6 feet long. This is all carved foam that John did. Phenomenal tombstone. It's got lights in it and things, I think, on the ends there. No, actually, those are Christmas ornaments on the end. There's your Christmas right there. Those 4 little posts on the end are actually inverted Christmas ornaments, and they put Monster Mud on top of those. Monster Mud, in case you didn't know, is a great product. It's just simply, you get a 5-gallon bucket of drywall mud, put a gallon of flat black paint in there, mix them together, and then you coat material with it, and you can take a cloth, formative or something, let it dry, and you have this hardened sculpture. And you can put it over the tombstones, anything that you want to have look gray and like stone. The only thing is, it is not watertight. You do have to seal it with something like dry lock, varnish, or polyurethane. So here's some Monster Mud examples. This is my Reaper. He's about 5.5 feet tall himself, and he's on top of a tombstone in the picture on the right. And that's just cloth dipped in Monster Mud and draped over pieces of furring strips and PVC and chicken wire. And he has one of those little torch bowls in his hands, and it blows and such. Easy to make. I did that probably in probably 2 weekends, and just painted it and then sealed it. Mark Fawcett, who is near Kissimmee at Shingle Creek, this is one of his products. This is a life-size hooded sorrow, and if you look at the feet, the toes, and the hand, how realistic those are, that's because those are life casts from alginate. And you put your hand inside this gooey stuff, it hardens up kind of, then you pour in the plasticky stuff, and it turns into like this epoxy of, I mean, every wrinkle, every fingerprint is in those casts, and then you just paint them to whatever. And that's what he did over top of a chicken wire and I think PVC sculpture here. I think Mark has a Shingle Creek Manor website or Facebook page that shows you how he did all that too. And here's everybody's seen a beloved tombstone. This is mine. It was a bridal dress I picked up at a flea market thing for $5 or I think, and dipped it in great stuff, and then put a skeleton face on it, skeletal hands, and that's supposed to be just draped over the tombstone. And that whole box is nothing but foam board and 2x4s, and it weighs almost nothing. When you do a scene for Halloween, one of the things you need to remember is how things looked in movies. Oftentimes you see cobwebs, and a lot of people forget about those, or they'll get the really cheap, the $1.99 or the 99-cent ones from Walmart or Dollar Tree, and those are kind of a mess. This hot glue stick Webster gun is so easy to use. You just get an air compressor, you pop it on one end, you set the PSI around 40 to 60, and you shove a hot glue stick in there and run the air, and it blows out this thin fiber of like thread in the air, and it lands on whatever you want, like a few feet away, like 4 to 10 feet away. And that's how you make cobwebs in the movies. And you can do that at your haunt, inside, outside, and it cleans right up easily. It doesn't really stick. It comes right off. And by the time you get a whole area done, and then when you go to clean it up, in the end, it's the size of about an almond or a walnut. All this stuff you've blown out. It's just phenomenal. So think about that. They sell webcaster guns everywhere at Halloween time. Pneumatic props I'll talk about just for a moment. They are dangerous, so you need some know-how. And Fright Props has the biggest selection of all the gear you need to make a pneumatic prop safely. And they have instructions, and you can get a free catalog. Just call them up and ask them. It's just makes things so much more sensible when you look at the information they provide on how to make something that jumps and scares people. So here's one of my props, a monster in a box, and it's pneumatic, and you trigger it with an infrared. Okay, and that is simply pallet wood around 2x4 framing. That box is about almost 48 inches high, I think 22 inches deep, and it has inside of it a furry, across the middle of it, this brown fur with LED lights from below inside that shine on it. So as it's rocking and rolling, the fur is moving, and it has the speakers built into it, has a fogger into it also, and it leaps about 3 inches forward. And I had to finally put a hinge on the front of it, because when you do these things and they hop and they leap, they're so powerful that they'll actually make the box scoot forward every time. So I had to put a hinge on the very front to stop it from leaping off the wood eventually. Anyway, that was fun. Learning experience. Hey, I'm saving you time and money. Put a hinge on the front. Water is part of what I like also, when I can apply it into a scene. And I created this water pump prop, Lizzie Borden, obviously, but I put holes, and on the back side is a clear plastic tray, and on the back there's a pump that goes all the way down and pushes through a tube up to the tray, the red water. And that's a still photo of it. But what I did was I kept trying to find something that wouldn't clog up the filter in the pump and would keep the water red. This is what you get, folks. Party pool. You buy it online. I think it's like $10 a little plastic container here. But that stuff is so red. It only takes about a capful to make it that deep red. Maybe 2 capfuls if you really want to go overboard, to make a couple gallons of water, because this whole bottle will do like 30,000 gallons, I think. Our pool did it 1 year. I did it for Halloween. I just threw a bunch of it in there, and it'll stay in your hands. You have to wear gloves when it's coming right out of the bottle. It is that intense, but it's made for pools. But you can use it in any kind of water source you have. So one more thing I did for this. This is Great Stuff foam over top of an old fire pit, and I put these skulls together with hot glue, and then ran a little pump in the middle with a little hose in the top, and you see the water coming out of the top skull spilling over. This is my bloody bird bath, and that stands about 3 feet, 3.5 feet tall, and about 3 feet wide. So let's not forget about smell. We talked about froggies earlier. They are the bomb. These guys have got more stinky stuff than I've ever seen. Tater, when he sees me give this seminar at a convention, he loves to shout out, "Get the slaughterhouse!" Slaughterhouse is the like rotten smelling flesh smell that will freak everybody out. And the decaying rot, yeah, okay, but they've got mold, they've got dirt. So when someone goes through your haunt or your yard anywhere, put the sprays on you as a cologne on your costume or on props. And I've got people that walk by a prop and will smell. Even the door jamb, spray it on the door jamb. Get a piece of cloth and stick it behind the edge of the door jamb and just soak it a little bit with these kind of sprays. And they're not expensive at all, and they last forever. And you can add that extra little realism to someone subconsciously. Okay. I had to do this because I'm an eye doctor. One of the things that we sometimes forget about is that little eye-to-eye contact that can freak people out, like the clown here. So they make prescription and non-prescription contact lenses. Exotic Lenses is one of the companies I've been working with the longest. They use the same laboratory as I do when I order contact lenses for my patients in our eye care practice. So they're FDA approved. There's nothing wrong with them. They do great. There's a lot of lenses out there, though, folks, that are illegal. They're from China. They're from Korea, other countries that are not FDA cleared. And you've got to be careful about that. Okay. And just for anyone that wears contact lenses, this is what I tell patients all day long. Get BioTrue solution. It's probably the best on the market. It moistens your contacts 16 hours a day. And I use it myself. And I tell anyone that wears contact lenses, use that solution. It's nothing better. I even rinse my eyes with it out in my workshop. And Bausch & Lomb does make that now. Okay. And this is a fun little thing. Fright Light carries it. Fright Light is the product. Fright Props carries it, and it's worn around your neck and has a little light the size of a lipstick tube that you have a hand control over in your hand, and you push it, and it turns the light on your face. And there's different colors. They've got UV, red, green. It's a great way to have a portable light source for someone in a dark room to walk up to someone and hit that light, boom, that lights them up like that. And Fright Prop sells that. So go to your handout. There's tons of sites. Everything is in there that we talked about and so much more. I just want you guys to have all the information you could ever need. This is one of the premier places for information that's been around, and it's been categorized and it's been archived, and you can look up a skeleton birthday cakes for Halloween. I mean, just weird things, and or costume ideas, and and you can search these things. When you join up, it's free. I believe Spirit Halloween now owns that website. Larry McKenzie used to own it, and I think 5 years ago or so, 6 years ago, he 5 years ago, he sold it to Spirit Halloween. But it is your ultimate source for information on making props, pictures, resources. Go there. Here's some quick superstars in the Halloween industry. Tara Layer and Tara now is moved to Texas. This is her haunt the year before she left, and you see the hellhound there. She made that out of foam, and she made all these props. Erin actually changed from pirate theme this next year to something else, but she had a great home haunt. Garage of Evil, great folks. They tell you how to make all kinds of props. Scott Halloween, he's the paper mache king. He actually has classes, I think, at his house, teaches you how to make things. Bill, Spooky Blue, he's got a great, if you just Google up Spooky Blue, you'll see how to make all these things that he's done in the past. Great resource. Davis Graveyard Davises are just phenomenal people. That's Chris and Jeff. That's one of their props. And then you see the cobwebs that are blown on that thing from a cobweb gun. Alan Hops, everybody knows Alan. I think if you're into Halloween, Alan has YouTube videos. He's got classes. He's got one-on-one trainings sessions in Texas. He had one recently, or has one coming up. Pumpkin Rot just makes the freakiest skeletons and creepy things. Just to go cheap, I have a company here locally. When I have my haunt, I put together these guys. They drop 1,400-pound real burial vaults in my yard, and I build a cemetery around that. And they do that every year when I ask them to. And that's my Pumpkin King guy I showed you earlier and coming on. And there he is, daytime. And hearses, if you can get someone to loan a hearse for your cemetery, hey, find someone that can do that. Sometimes they don't want to have their hearse out driving around, but they will put it like behind your cemetery fencing in your yard. That happened with me. Caskets, I called a local funeral parlor, and they gave me that casket for the night for a Halloween party, and I think is what I use that for. Stirring Witch, this is one prop I made that is about 5.5 feet tall. She cackles, she stirs, she's got smoke. And I'll see if I have a video of her here. Let's see if it runs. There we go. And I have wood underneath her with the little glowing ember lights. And that is a 55 gallon garbage pail with paper mache all around it and chicken wire. So that's a very large and heavy cauldron. I found an organ given away, and it was white, and I turned it into a Halloween prop. There you go. I mean, stuff is free. Check on Craigslist, folks. This is a Frankenstein lab I put together with some electronics, and you folks may have. So that is a real Jacob's ladder I put together. I got a 15,000 volt transformer from a buddy of mine and made that whole scene. Dangerous, but I had to put a PVC pipe around it so people wouldn't get killed. That's another story. Anyway, there's my electric chair I made. It's kind of modeled after the one they use here in Florida. It rumbles, shakes, has lights. When I turn it on the big throw switch, it does all these things. And it's just 2x4 wood and I think 4x4, and it does all kinds of fun stuff. And these are my favorite props, just small little ones. I make these little tiny props sometimes just because I have time to kill. So you don't have to know anything about electronics, nothing about lighting, nothing about anything pneumatic, but you can make something like this. You just get the labels online, get a bottle from Hobby Lobby. There you go. So this is one of my classes I teach, how to make this little potion bottle. It's one of my favorite props. And it is nothing to it. It's just 3 layers of spray paint, a little burnt sienna paint on there, and spray glue, and there you go. Simple stuff.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you very much, Dr. Ramsay, Dr. Terrais. We've enjoyed having you on. Learned quite a lot from the presentation, a lot of great ideas. So thank you very much.
The xLights project exists because of people like you. Help continue the project by making a donation today at xlights.org/donate.